Hello there. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to Beyond the Frame. I'm your host, Joe Parente, and I've learned some of my most valuable life lessons from my favorite TV shows and movies. Sure, these works of art entertain us, offer us an escape, and even tap into our emotions, but there's one E, Ryan, that's often overlooked.
And that's educational. If viewed from a different perspective, these stories and their characters can help us to learn and develop as human beings.
It's true.
I'm your co-host, Ryan Vanderhei, and it's our mission with this podcast to help share these unique perspectives with you so that you can maybe grow from the show.
Today's topic of discussion is going to be Mystic River and asking for help. As always, there will be a ton of spoilers ahead, so proceed with caution. And be sure to leave a like, rating, or review, or follow us wherever you listen or watch us, as it really helps the show. So Ryan, shall we begin?
Let's begin.
The answers that you're looking for are lying just beyond the frame.
So, Ryan, to reiterate the purpose of our podcast, we look at films and TV series to find, the scenes, the moments, the characters that we can relate to.
Yeah.
And if we choose to, we can also use our imaginations to look for situations that we haven't been in, like a war scene.
Yeah.
And do our best to put ourselves in the shoes of those people. And if we can be straight with ourselves, we might get an idea of what we might do.
Yeah. I like that.
And in that sense, we can learn about ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
And learn about life. And yeah, that's one of the ways that you and I have connected in talking about movies and TV shows. And of course, that is the theme of what we're doing.
Yeah, that's how this whole thing started.
It is. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there again for people who've been listening to us, that we're not just doing straight up movie reviews. We're talking about exactly that, how we can learn about ourselves, how we can learn about life, and how these movies really touch us.
Absolutely.
And I think that is what makes this medium so extraordinary.
Yeah, because it can touch us in that way.
Exactly.
Totally.
So we are talking about the 2003 film Mystic River today. And I just thought it was a fantastic film. This was
my first time watching it when you brought it up. Yeah, it was my first time. You said you had wanted to do Mystic River. And that name is so familiar. Like I just heard, when you said Mystic River, I was like, oh, I know that. I just had never sat down and watched it. So it was my first experience. And I got to say, pretty pleasant one.
Okay.
I really enjoyed the film.
Okay.
The performances were fantastic.
Agreed.
The cast was bizarre. This is one of those movies where
I love that.
there's so many people in it that I just know throughout history of like watching movies. And I'm like, oh my God, there's them. Oh wait, isn't that the girl from... Oh, wait, that's the guy?
Yeah.
It was just like every scene was like boop, 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 boop.
Yeah.
Everyone was Emmy Rossum's playing the daughter.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah. And she crushed it, the 4 lines she had.
Yeah, she literally crushed it.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
So when you say bizarre, you just mean, oh my God, I knew so many people. And you didn't even know that.
Pleasantly surprised. Who's the woman that's Ozark?
Oh, Laura Linney.
Laura Linney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's fantastic.
Fantastic in
Yes.
this. All of which to be led by the extraordinary Sean Penn.
Yes, and he was extraordinary in this, as was Tim Robbins. I believe he won an Academy Award for that.
Both Oscar winners.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Let's not sell Kevin Bacon short.
Didn't love his performance.
You didn't?
Didn't love it.
That's
I don't love
okay.
Kevin Bacon, though. Historically, throughout my life, I have not.
We'll have to explore that at some time.
Yeah, we'll get deeper into that. Maybe when the cameras are off.
I don't know. I think people would love to hear that. I know I would. Anyway, so the theme of this, watching this film. So again, we watch these films and we come up with, or TV series, and we come up with a theme to discuss. And the theme that I came up with this is, when do we ask for help? Because that can be really tricky.
No kidding.
Or even a better question might be, do we ask for help?
Oh.
And I want to look at the other side of this too, which is when people come to us for help, do we ask enough questions? Do we ask the right questions so that we can really give them effective help?
Yeah, that's tough. It's so hard to know in the moment. If you've got time to prepare, it's different. But God, if somebody comes to you with something sensitive and they're asking for help, it's so tough to know how and what to say and what's going to be right, what's going to be wrong. Is it the right advice? Is it the wrong advice?
Very
Hindsight's
true.
2020.
Very true.
So
Very true.
oftentimes after the fact, I look back and I'm like, I wish I would have said something different. I could have maybe helped more.
You know, I actually think, look, that feeling sucks, but that feeling also can be a bonus because it shows that you care
Sure.
a lot
Sure.
and that you want to give really good advice and
Yeah.
you want to help people.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, I think that something I've learned, just to throw it out there, way ahead of myself, but just asking questions and let people talk about it more. Give me more. Can you talk? What happened with that? Just asking
How did
more
that make
questions.
you feel?
Just asking more questions,
Yeah.
get a better understanding of what's going on. Because, the intuition versus gut that we talked about in an episode, a few episodes
Memento,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah. To me, once I've heard enough, if I feel like I'm in the position to give some kind of advice, that's a gut thing. Like the gut will be quiet until it's like
it's
there's
ready.
almost like critical mass.
Yeah, until it has what
Yeah.
it needs to.
Yeah, like
make
just
the-
enough.
Yeah.
But
that's fair.
I thought that was something that was really central in this movie looking back, like, what touched me about it. So we're going to go over a few scenes here.
Yeah,
And we're going
I
to
would love
discuss
to.
that within the context of this theme.
Absolutely.
So quick review of the movie. If you haven't seen it, there will be spoilers again. So the movie, and I'm just going to give a basic overview. The movie opens with three boys playing in the street, playing street hockey.
Yep.
The ball goes down into the gutter like all their previous balls have before. And
Yep.
I thought about that because we had to we'd put stuff in front of the gutters to block them. So
Yeah,
that
the
wouldn't
grates,
happen.
yeah.
And I was just like, you guys,
Yeah.
they needed my help.
Yes.
Anyway,
exactly.
they didn't ask. That's the
I
problem.
didn't ask.
So one of them, and we figured out who he was when he became older, the Sean Penn character encourages them to write their names in the sidewalk and cement. As they're writing their names in cement, a car pulls up. This guy, it seems very imposing and authoritative, and he's got a badge clipped to his belt, a gold badge. So you think he's a cop. It looked
Right.
like a cop car, maybe an unmarked cop car. Tells one of the kids, asks them what they're doing, sizes up the kids like you're the ringleader,
Yeah, Sean Penn's
which
character.
in retrospect it made sense. He was
Yeah.
sifting through who's the weakest link here.
Yeah, it's just sad to look back and
Very
think about that.
sad. So this guy ends up taking one of the kids, David, away, and he is sexually molested for 4 days before he escapes. Then we go to these characters, and the story kind of starts fresh many years later when they're adults.
Yes. Older adults.
They've
got
they're
families.
in their late 30s.
Yes.
They've got kids.
Yeah.
So
And they've all kind of drifted apart too. They're in
Yes.
the same town still,
Correct.
but none of them really talk to each other anymore.
correct. They're in the same area of Boston. So now we see Jimmy, played by Sean Penn, brilliantly by Sean Penn, with his daughter, played by Emmy Rossum.
Shout out to her.
Yeah, exactly, and she was fantastic. And we will see the third kid as an adult. He became Kevin Bacon.
Not a bad thing to become.
No, not a bad thing to become.
Yeah.
So again, there are going to be spoilers. So there is a first. Let me see. How should I put this? Let's just jump into the scene. So Dave comes home from a bar at 3 a.m.
Yes, Dave is the one that was kidnapped as a kid.
Dave is the one who was kidnapped.
So
So,
now
this
he's
is
an
played
adult.
by Tim Robbins,
Yep.
who was, wow,
Phenomenal.
very impressive in that. and he comes home bloodied, and his wife's like, Dave, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
He's bloodied. He's slashed across his stomach. Yeah. So his wife, played by Celeste, played by Marcia Gay Hayden, sees him and asks him, what's going on? And the first thing he says is, I fucked up.
Not what you want to hear when someone's covered in blood.
Nope.
Yikes.
Nope. So then he gives the story, saying that a guy tried to mug him.
Mm-hmm.
And during the course of explaining this to his wife, Celeste, he changes his story ever so slightly, and she notices this.
Yeah, that's a liar.
Yeah. So she clocked it, and she says to him, wait, I thought you just said this. He's like, Celeste, can't I tell my story?
Right. Like, I've just been in this traumatic event. Like,
Exactly.
can I just... Yeah.
Exactly. So he then tells her he may have killed her. May have killed the guy who tried to...
Yeah, he said he bashed his head off the sidewalk.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that he might have killed him.
Yeah.
So she says, well, Dave, first of all, we got to take you to the hospital. No hospital, no hospital, no hospital.
Yeah.
So she then tells him, look, I'll take care of your clothes. Go take a shower. I'll take care of your clothes. Because quite frankly, most of the blood wasn't his.
Yeah.
So, and we clock that she has doubts.
Yeah, visibly we can tell that she is not all on board with what's going on here. She thinks that there might be some...
Correct.
Because she's sober.
She is quite sober. I mean, it is 3 a.m. She was asleep. She woke up when he came in.
Yeah.
Dave did not ask for help at all.
Mm-hmm.
He gave her very little information.
Yeah.
It was clear to, I thought, us the viewers, that he's not being upfront with us. You could see why she had doubt.
Yeah.
It didn't sound plausible.
Right.
It just didn't really make sense.
And we're in her shoes as the audience. We're going, wait, what?
Exactly. And this is her husband. They have a child together. We've seen a scene previously where Dave's with his son, who's probably about 10 years old or so.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, they were both in the dark about each other. I mean, he didn't tell her much. She didn't ask him much. And then they're just going to kind of go on with it.
Yeah, it just was a weird...
Okay, all righty.
Yeah, yeah. This thing is bizarre event.
It's incredibly bizarre.
Took place, and then there's no details. There's no... He's stumbling on a story, but I think maybe from her perspective in that moment, she could tell that he had been through something traumatic. And so it's like, you don't want to press someone. You don't want to push the wrong buttons and ask the wrong questions when someone that you care about has just been through a traumatic experience.
That was definitely her decision.
Right.
I guess it would just depend.
It was a decision.
It was a decision. It was her decision.
Yeah.
And she also never followed up in the following days. All she would say was, it wasn't in the paper.
Yeah, she kept coming to him.
She kept coming to him and saying that it wasn't in the paper.
Right.
So you're left... I was left so frustrated by both of them.
Yeah. Communication, man.
And we can understand to a degree that we saw right at the beginning of the movie, Dave has been severely traumatized. So he has a difficult time getting things out. But we don't know to what extent.
And that's his defense mechanism as somebody who has been through something like that. You don't want to reveal too much. There's a bit of shame. There's a bit of embarrassment.
For sure.
And you don't want to reveal too much of what's happened. So
True.
You pull things back a little bit.
Particularly because, very true, and particularly because in this case, he says that he feels he might have killed someone.
Right.
But if someone has potentially died, I don't know. I think that's a fairly loaded situation.
Yeah.
That would call for more investigation, a few more questions.
From her. As the wife.
And
the mother of the child.
Okay, so you might have killed somebody. Let's talk this out.
Let's unpack
this a little bit rather than I'll take care of your clothes, which I guess means you're gonna burn them or something. She knows how to take care of clothes.
Right.
And then we're just gonna go to bed and wake up the next morning, honey.
good night.
Can I make you some coffee?
Yeah.
You know?
got to go to work today? Like, what's going on?
If you thought at all about the guy you might have killed last
yeah.
night. No? Okay, all good.
Right.
I just thought that was it was a noteworthy disconnect.
Yeah, agreed.
And look, this is going to take shape more as we discuss the movie more. But just at this point in the movie, I'm left with why? What, come on.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah. But it's a movie, so you need to be left in the dark. Otherwise, it wouldn't be
that is
exciting.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
So a major event takes place both before and after this scene.
Yeah.
And that is the murder of Jimmy, played by Sean Penn, Jimmy's daughter, played by Emmy Rossum.
Yeah.
And it's a gruesome murder. Yeah. She is shot and beaten, and her body is dumped. And so we know that something has happened before this scene, and then after this scene, we start to get an idea of the timeline. And something I hadn't said yet was that on that last night that Emmy Rossum's character was alive, she was at a bar with friends dancing on the bar, and Dave was there.
And he noticed her.
And he
talked about how he knew her. He's known her his whole life.
Yep.
And there was I thought, and I felt, this was important to show for the context of the film, for us to be kind of mystified, is that he was kind of bothered by her presence.
He was.
Something about it just kind of like, he was uncomfortable, and we could tell.
Exactly. And that observation was really important.
And the next scene is him coming home at 3 a.m.
That's
bloodied.
right.
So
That's
we're
right.
led to believe,
that's right.
Is there?
That's right.
Because then the next scene, she's murdered. You're going, I'm connecting dots here.
That's right.
I don't know. This doesn't look good.
And we are absolutely meant to. But as we all know with like murder mysteries, what have you, if this one particular person looks like the person from the get-go,
probably
there's
not
a pretty strong chance that they're not
the
person, despite overwhelming evidence to prove, to point in that direction. So we, as the viewers, are left wondering what the heck happened. Of course, who killed Katie? I believe her name was.
Yeah.
And it looks like Dave, is a chocolate mess and a bloody mess, literally. Yeah. And you can see his wife is already wondering. Once she gets, pardon me.
This was the beginning.
Correct.
Of her becoming unhinged.
So, right. And first she's wondering, I wonder what's really going on. Then she hears about the murder the next day. And so she's starting to put this together. Wait a minute.
Right.
Katie was murdered. Dave came home late. He came home bloodied. She starts to suspect.
As we
all did.
Yeah.
So I just think that when he came home, it would have been an excellent time for him to create an ally out of his wife.
Sure.
And he truly missed that opportunity. And we don't know why. It did become clear
later
in the movie.
Yes.
But at that time, that was really working me.
Yeah, confusing.
Yeah. Did it have that effect on you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't like when people, because again, I'm just, I want honesty, communication up front. The truth is always better. The lie is going to hurt way more. So no matter how much it's going to hurt somebody or how I might be judged, just let it fly, man.
Yeah.
I just let it fly.
Yeah, exactly.
And so if I'll deal with the consequences, but listen, I've learned over a long period of time that those lies will hurt way worse and cause way more problems than just coming clean initially. So if he could have come home and just been like, but we know why. We know why he didn't.
Right. But. And it took time to catch on to that. But that does beg the question that I wanted to ask of you, Ryan, as far as like asking for help goes. Is it something that you can do? Is it something you...
I'm just going to sink down into the floor here.
I'm going to move the camera.
Did you watch something? Are you talking to me? Yeah.
I think that says something.
Man, my my existence on this earth is avoiding asking for help. I mean, that is me in a nutshell. I just have this. It's pain. It's so much pain for me to ask someone for help because then I feel helpless. I feel like I need you.
So
I can't do it on my own.
Asking for help is a sign of weakness that you can't do something for yourself.
I know
Just,
that.
just asking.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Just clarifying.
I know
Okay.
that's not reality.
Yeah,
That's here. That's something that I've created.
Do you like helping people?
I love it.
Okay. So you can probably think about how it is then if somebody says, do you need some help? Or if you ask someone for help, it makes them feel great.
Yeah. Yeah. I love helping people, and I love when people ask me for help because I like to be that person. I like to be the person to
I believe
assist,
that about you.
help,
Yep.
offer advice, whatever. I enjoy that. So I don't know what the disconnect is between where I can't on the other side. I mean, I'm learning, and I'm consciously aware of it, and that's the first step. I'm consciously aware that this is a behavior that I have, and I'm working actively towards trying to mitigate that. Like, especially in my work as a director,
Mm-hmm.
you have a certain ego as an artist, and you think that you know best, especially when it's something that's personal or if it's a project that's yours that you're birthing.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of feel like it's mine, so I know better. And as a director, or if you want to be and I mean, I guess this is debatable, but to me, if you want to be a successful artist, you have to be willing to collaborate. You have to be willing to take advice and seek other people's opinions,
Mm-hmm.
because you could be wrong. You're too close to it. You're flying too close to the sun. So it helps to have other people. It helps to ask for help and not do everything myself.
Absolutely true. And believe me, I'm wired so much like you are, it's not even funny. So the whole
well.
asking for help thing is certainly challenging.
Okay, so I'm
For me-
glad that.
Oh, you are not an island.
Okay,
Believe me, I can so relate to that.
Okay.
And because I like to think of myself as very independent and I can get things done and I know what needs to be done and I will do it.
Yep.
And asking for help is extremely difficult for me as well. And so there I am watching this movie thinking, come on, man. And
I
then
would have
had
done
to-
the same thing.
I had to think, oh, wait a minute. That's part of why it's working me.
You said that. You said that to me recently. We were talking about something. We had coffee the other day, and you said that a friend of yours had told you that if you're watching a scene and it's bothering
That's
you,
right.
there's a reason.
That's right. It's pushing some buttons.
It's
in
pushing
there.
a button. And you're right. I felt the exact same way in that scene. I'm going, just tell her. And I was talking to myself.
Yeah, exactly. Me too.
I was going, just,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
And
Oof.
oh, the beauty of movies, how they move us.
That's why we're here, right? That's why we're here.
Exactly. So the next movie next scene I want to talk about
Mm-hmm.
is, and I've had different thoughts since writing the notes on this, but Celeste, who is David's wife. So David was the one who came home bloodied. He was the one who, as a child, had been abducted. So
Yes.
Celeste is his wife, and she goes to the father of the murdered girl,
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy, played by Sean Penn, to tell him that she thinks Dave, her husband, killed Katie, his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering. This is just this. So okay, let me before I ask the questions, because I was just boggled. I was blown away by that.
Yeah.
I want to add this detail that Dave's hand was badly. It was really bruised when he came home from the bar that night.
Yeah.
At 3 a.m.
Yeah, that'll happen
And
when you punch somebody's face in.
When you kill someone,
Right.
that could happen.
Yeah.
Kill them with your bare hands. So Celeste in time heard Dave change his story as to why his hand was hurt.
Like 3 or 4 different times.
And
Different people would ask him.
and we wonder that as the viewers too.
Yeah.
Why is he changing his story every time?
Yeah.
Why not stick with someone tried to get my wallet from me, but he didn't.
If that was the truth, certainly that would have been the story every time.
And so that tells us, now we know, just like his wife knows, that was not true.
Yeah, he's lying.
Because he keeps changing his story.
Right. But rather
than talk to him directly,
her husband,
rather than ask her husband, hey, why are you telling everybody when, they ask about Jimmy, why are you telling people a different story every time? She doesn't.
let's instead go to Jimmy,
who is the neighborhood, how should we say
Don?
that he is the Don of the neighborhood.
Yeah, he's like a mafia boss.
Yeah, he is. He served his time and now he's got his convenience store, but we all know that he's the king of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
That is very clear.
Yes.
So she is going to the Don to tell the Don, I
My
think my husband killed your daughter.
Yeah.
What I was wondering is, who does she think she's helping?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Because
In that scenario, it was just the guilt. It was her own guilt she wanted to escape.
so she was just trying to help herself.
Yeah, we saw how distraught she was. I mean, she could barely hold it together when she came up, and he clocked it right away.
Yeah, he
Jimmy's not
did.
stupid.
No,
As soon
Jimmy's
as she
very not stupid.
As soon as she walked up, he could tell she was in all sorts of...
She was squirming, and he
Yes.
got there pretty quickly.
Yeah.
He got there pretty quickly.
And he got it out of her.
And he got
then
it out of
was
her
like,
very quick. He was very gentle with her and very Sean Penn-like. And
I think she couldn't deal with all this guilt she had. She had to put it somewhere.
amazing. Because, I mean, this is a little bit of a tangent, but why on earth go to Jimmy? Of all people.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really thought that, yeah, first of all, ask your husband, why are you telling everybody a different story? What really happened? Yeah.
As we're talking about this, we saw her dynamic with Jimmy and the family after the wake. She's kind of there helping. She has a soft heart. I think she didn't want to be paired. She didn't want to be
Associated.
correct. She wanted to clear her own, again, that guilt. She couldn't deal with it. And she was like, well, I need to tell him now before it comes out.
And before
That
he
way-
thinks that I was a part of it or
Correct.
something.
That I was keeping it from them. That
I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're right. Remarkable.
that's tough.
Because even if she'd gone to the police would have investigated, and it's not like you can hold somebody, but if you don't have enough evidence or whatever, or you can even take them to trial. But it's not going to be the kind of justice that Jimmy is going to mete out. She had to know when she was telling Jimmy that she thinks her husband killed his daughter, what was going to happen. She had to know that.
Yeah, there's no way that you're going to tell a man of that
Exactly.
that, hey, my husband murdered your daughter viciously.
Yeah. Right.
Now let's just all be nice here.
Right. Right.
I don't think any person is going to handle that well, much
No.
less a Jimmy who's done time.
No, and this is a life or death matter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is a really, really serious one.
Mm-hmm.
So as we were saying, Celeste goes to Jimmy and tells him that she thinks that her husband killed Jimmy's daughter.
Right.
And she had to know what was going to come from that. And it did. And that is that Sean Penn's character, killed Dave.
Yeah.
He felt quite justified in doing
Yeah.
it.
Uh-huh.
He'd killed his daughter. Jimmy'd been having his friends doing some investigating, and signs were kind of pointing towards maybe it could have been him anyway. And then when Celeste came to him, it's like, oh yeah,
That
okay.
was the nail in the coffin.
And he also so in a way, I don't know if she's asking for help, but maybe she is asking for help to assuage her own guilt, as you pointed out.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't ask a whole lot of questions. He just accepted it.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of detail.
There was not a lot of pushback. There wasn't like, well, tell me why, because the consequences were absolutely huge.
And it was the answer that he wanted to hear.
It is exactly right.
Like
And
you said, things were already pointing that way, that he was
Yep.
already getting information about.
That's
His friends
right.
came and said, oh, Dave got taken down to the station. blah, blah, blah. Like there was a lot of things that were kind of not adding up.
That's right.
And then when she came, he was like, oh, this is what I need right here.
Exactly. And now
I've got my guy.
Now I will have justice. I'm not going to wait for the justice system to do it. I will meet my own.
Which we
he
has done before.
He tells us in the scene where he takes care of Dave, he alludes to the fact that he has done this before. Correct.
Somebody had backstabbed him.
Correct.
And ratted him out.
That's right.
And then he killed him.
And so we go to the next morning. After he's killed Dave, we go to the next morning, and Jimmy is sitting on the curb in front of his house. Drinking straight from a bottle of hooch. And Sean, the police detective, Kevin Bacon, drives up, and he tells him, first it's like, rough night, Yeah. And I believe he takes a swig himself because he had a bullet, he had a gun pointed at him, so he defied death, if you will.
Interesting night. Yeah.
Won't go into that on this episode, probably, or any other. So Sean tells Jimmy, we got you killers. Jimmy's like, excuse me?
Killers?
Huh? Killers?
Plural?
And first of all, Jimmy's already thinking, well, I got him. Yeah.
Right.
What do you mean you've got two, killers?
Right.
So Sean explains to him that it was these two kids, the Harris kid. Well, Harris kid, one a Harris kid and a friend who did this quasi-randomly.
A couple kids with a gun shouldn't have had it.
Right.
Just got out of hand.
Correct. And they are in custody.
Yeah.
So now Jimmy is thinking, wow, I unjustly killed someone.
Yeah, now the justification is gone.
It's completely gone.
Yeah.
And we go to another scene where he's in his bedroom looking out the window, and his wife comes in the room, and he says to him, I killed the wrong man. And Laura Linney plays his wife, and she didn't have many lines in this movie, but oh my.
They counted.
Oh, did they count?
They mattered.
So she explains to him that he's the king, and the king makes the decisions he has to make.
You got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you've got to do.
You got to protect your family.
That's right. And you've got 2 daughters, mofo. Don't forget that. You're not going to prison. You are the king. You do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Kings have to make tough decisions.
Yeah, sometimes you got to get your hands dirty.
That's right. So he went from feeling justified to not so much to all of a sudden again, like, that's right, I am the king. It's good to be king.
He got help.
He did get
from
help.
His wife.
And that was, you tied that together before I could say it. He did get help from his wife.
He didn't have to ask for it.
He did not. She was there with it. So that ties in perfectly to our bad guy break. Let's have one.
Awesome. Let's do it. I'm excited for this one. You said you had a good one, so.
Well, I think so.
I'm ready.
So, we try to make the bad guy breaks have a tie-in with the movie. So,
yes. So 4 hints for me to guess.
4 hints. First one is, the Medium is a TV series. So the years are from 2017.
So not a film now.
No.
Okay,
no.
I like this.
So we're going for a series that ran from 2017 to 2022.
Whoa.
This is straight from IMDb. The genre is drug crime / epic / drama / thriller.
Uh-huh.
The actor is Lisa Emery.
Lisa. From 2017 to 2022.
God, you're going to get this, aren't you?
No, I don't know. The first thing that popped in my head was Narcos, but no.
This is... Lisa Emery played Darlene Snell in Ozark.
Oh, gotcha.
Have you seen Ozark?
I have.
I thought
Laura Linney.
And Laura Linney. I almost did that.
That would have been 2. I would have gotten that.
Right. Yeah. That would have been 2 on the nose, and that's why I couldn't do it.
Yeah, that's a great pull.
I don't know if you remember Darlene Snell.
I don't.
She would kill with...
Was she the...
she ran the poppy farm.
Yeah, and she's always in the... Yeah, okay, I gotcha. Yeah.
She even... When her husband looked like he might be an issue, she had no compunction. She took him right out.
Yeah.
She would take anyone out.
Yeah.
And feel perfectly justified by it. That woman never lost a wink of sleep.
No.
Ever.
No. Not
she made the decision. She talk about a king.
Yeah, talk about a killer, man. Literally
Exactly.
and figuratively.
Exactly. So I just thought of
Yeah, she was a battering ram. That's a great
she
bagpipe
was a
break.
battering ram.
She really was. She
My
walked
God.
over anybody.
My God. So that's our bagpipe break. But
Love it.
I want to pull us back to a theme that I talked about earlier how, Ryan and I do this podcast to talk about what has personally moved us in a movie.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to figure out like what to talk about for this movie. And I was feeling the frustration of Dave coming home and not telling his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was revealed later in the movie, she didn't even know about his being molested as a child.
Right. It came
She
out
had
one night.
no idea. So when he brought it out, she's like, what?
Well, I didn't know.
No idea.
Yeah. She was like, when you were a kid with the car and she only knew like these very minute details. He never really explained to her what happened to him.
That's right.
Which we up until that point don't really know.
We didn't.
Yeah. We just see him running through the forest and we see these guys. It alludes to it, but we don't know for sure what took place until this scene where he kind of lets it all fly.
Yeah, that's right.
Because he's in a desperation.
That's right. And so it struck me that it took me a while for me to understand that one of the ways I could relate to this movie was the fact that I had been the victim of sexual assault
Okay.
as a young person, repeatedly by a doctor. Started at the age of 15, went on for about 4 years.
Wow. I'm sorry.
Initially, I saw I saw the doctor initially about 6 times that year, maybe more.
Wow.
And this went on for years. And I was so embarrassed and ashamed that I didn't bring it up to anyone. I didn't know anyone in the in medical world, so I had no one to ask. There was no internet.
Sure.
This started in the 70s for me.
Sure.
So there was no way for me to find out if what this guy was saying was a medical procedure actually was.
Okay.
And
you're young, you're impressionable.
And also, and there's a huge shame factor. So I wasn't going to, say anything to my mom and dad.
Of course.
So it finally stopped when I said no.
Well, that's good.
But it took me years to get there.
Yeah.
So I just buried it, for lack of a better way to put it.
Sure.
And fast forward to 2017, 2016, I was editing and rewriting a book for a friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And the story was how she had been, about her remarkable life and how she recovered and later thrived after having been brutally raped by 2 men. One was 17, one was 18, as a 14-year-old girl. And it was during the course of working on this project with her, and I worked very closely with her for a better part of a year and really got to know her story incredibly well. That's when it hit me what had happened to me.
Yeah.
And it had been almost 40 years that I'd completely kept a lid on it.
Yeah.
I did not seek help.
Yeah.
And I could then see that this had had a real effect on me because it was a traumatic thing.
Of course.
And there's no way that those can't have an effect. And, in retrospect, I wish I had maybe told a buddy, told anybody.
To have any kind of perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe a suggestion of how to move forward or what to do.
Right.
But, it wasn't, I grew up, quite frankly, in a different time. And you just didn't do that.
Yeah.
You just didn't. It's kind of like just get on with it. And I couldn't have even imagined telling my parents. I think it would have devastated them.
Yeah, how they would have been able to handle that.
And so I think that was part of it too, is I didn't want to upset my parents.
Sure.
And then but I also didn't know, is this really a medical procedure or not?
Yeah.
So once I remembered it, I Googled it and I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
And
that's
then
tough.
I called a friend of mine in Germany who's a nurse, and I described this to her, and she just said, "Oh, Joe, no, that's not a, it's like,
Yeah, confirmed what you feared.
it did."
Yeah.
So the reason I'm bringing this up in this podcast is to encourage anybody who's listening to this that if you've had something happen to you that is traumatic, that is
difficult.
I was trying to think of a different word.
Bring up to.
But I just
about.
encourage you to please say something to someone. And if you need to at least get it initially out, like maybe write it out,
That helps.
do it.
Yeah.
But please do not keep it in. This movie was such a really good example of people keeping things in.
Yeah.
People not letting it out, not talking about it. And now, granted, that wouldn't have meant that Katie didn't meet the fate that she met,
Of course.
but probably would have saved Dave's life.
Definitely.
It probably would have increased the quality of his life because we could see he was a very tortured man from this. I'm not saying that I am that. I'm just saying that I can relate to that, and and I did get help.
Yeah. That's great.
But Dave didn't, and he paid a massive price for it. And so again, I just brought this up to be encouraging to people.
Yeah, and I appreciate you for sharing that with us. That was very personal. So I know how much courage it takes to say something like that. So I appreciate you sharing that
I
with
appreciate
us.
you saying that because I am a pretty darn private guy.
Yeah, and I get that from you. But it's you're right. It's very poignant. It's very.
It ties back to help. It ties back to asking for help.
And especially to Dave and his character, because
Correct.
we learn later that the person that he did kill was a child
molester. I forgot to bring that part
So
up.
he
That's part of what
saw
really struck me
that's
too.
really what happened that night when he came home and he was bloody at 3 a.m.
That's right.
He didn't kill, as we know.
He didn't kill Katie.
Katie.
He killed a child.
He killed
molester.
a child molester because he says in his rage incident when he admits everything that I can't unsee these things.
That's right.
It stays with you.
That's right.
He's I saw a wolf, right? Isn't that what he says?
Yeah,
I saw a wolf.
he did say that.
And so we see the scene where he sees this guy sexually assaulting a young boy in a car.
Yep.
Drags him out,
And
beats him to death.
And beats him to death.
And then now we know why, because he had, he's trying again, like you said, to bury this, to put a lid on it. And
That's
keep
right.
But it tortures him.
And it tortures him, and also he was not. It looked like he was growing. He was the father, a good father. He was not going to be doing anything like that to his son.
Yeah.
And not only that, he finds someone doing what had been done to him. It's completely understandable that he did what he did.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, his heart was in the right place.
Yeah. He
His
knows what he went through. And
That's
how
right.
it affected him and what
That's
it's done
right.
to him. And so he's trying to save and protect
That's
the
right.
boy from meeting his same
That's
fate.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
And so, in that sense, there was mercy in it. There was compassion in it.
Yeah.
There's something very symbolic we get to see at the end of the film, and that comes back to the opening scene where these kids are writing their names on the cement.
Yeah.
And you see Jimmy, and you see the name Jimmy,
Sean.
and you see the name Sean written out, and David is just D.A.
He never got a chance to
He
finish
never
it.
got a chance to complete his name. He never got a chance to have a real childhood. He didn't get to really live a full life. He could not even tell his wife what had happened to him.
And throughout the entire film, they allude to it many times. Sean and Jimmy.
Yeah.
What if it was us
Yeah,
that got in that car?
of course.
Our lives would be totally different.
But do you remember Jimmy's answer to that? Because Sean said that it could have been us. He's like, sometimes I feel like we were all in that car.
Yeah, they're watching it.
And he
He's
said,
last time we were on the street together, we
yeah,
watched that
yeah,
car
but we
go.
didn't. We didn't get in that car. And when actually it was when Dave said that to Jimmy, he goes, yeah, Jimmy, but I didn't get in that car. You did.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, bastard.
Yeah.
So they all kind of, to a degree, did get in that car. I agree with
Yeah, they
the
all.
Kevin Bacon.
It affected
character.
all of them.
It did affect. It
Dave
did affect
the
all of
most. Obviously,
Yeah.
he had the most. He took the biggest cost from that
them. He sure did.
fateful afternoon.
He sure did. So I appreciate your listening. to
Yeah,
that.
absolutely, man. Thank you so much for sharing.
And just to shift gears a little bit, I've got recommendations
Perfect.
of some movies.
Love it.
The first one, that is if you like this movie, Mystic River, which was awesome. First one is Gone Baby Gone.
Oh, okay. I
starring
haven't seen this.
Casey Affleck.
Ooh, love Casey Affleck.
The next one is Hurt Locker
Oh,
with Jeremy Renner, and
Catherine Bigelow.
I picked that one because he's a bit of a renegade. He's in the military, but he does things his own way,
Yeah.
and I can appreciate that.
And it's how he deals with the trauma
Yeah.
of war.
Yeah, true. The next one is A History of Violence, Viggo Mortensen, because there is underlying trauma that is not really dealt with head on.
Interesting. I haven't seen that one.
That's a really good one.
Okay.
The next one is L.A. Confidential, Kevin Spacey,
classic.
Russell Crowe, and those are more quandaries of a moral and ethical
Sure.
taste. And the last one is 21 Grams. Sean Penn,
grams.
Naomi Watts, Benicio del Toro. Again, that deals with choices we make and the consequences of them.
Love it.
You got to see that one. That's a really good one.
21 grams. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, should we wrap this bad boy up?
Let's wrap this thing up, man.
Let's wrap it up. So Ryan and I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. And remember, as always, you're the main character in your own life. So don't be afraid to take a step back and look at the bigger picture, because sometimes the answers that you've been looking for are lying just beyond the frame. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.